Hi everyone, my name is Farhan Zia from Center for Social Justice Ahmedabad, and today I'll be giving you a brief introduction to what work CSG does and what we've been building with Avni for the past few months together. The CSG was established in 1993 under the Institute for Development of Education and Learning, and we're an organization that has been fighting for access to justice for vulnerable and marginalized people. We've been active in a number of states in India. Presently, our focus is on 4 states where we create access to justice intervention using law as a key strategy through an intimate engagement with grassroots realities. So, this usage of law as a lens to view social issues at the local level, at the grassroots level, is something that is very key to our work. Over the last 30 years, our experience in access to justice has led to the development of a unique conceptualization of marginalization and exclusion found in the interface between individual and collective identities. I'll expand on all of this a little bit shortly uh, to give a brief taste of what it is, what the work it is that we do, and why what we are building with Avni becomes so important. Uh, The various objectives that CSJ has in mind is one, taking a stance against injustice, discrimination, and establishing the rule of law in society. Number two, we increase awareness and sensitivity of rights-based issues among stakeholders. Number three, we provide a platform for different stakeholders to discuss various issues affecting vulnerable groups, such as Dalits, tribals, minorities, queer people, and other several marginalized groups. We provide quality legal services to these vulnerable groups. We improve the quality of legal education at various levels, including local communities, law colleges, and state bodies such as the police academy, jail training institutions, judicial academies, etc. And finally, we link grassroots experience with policy level engagement for creating uh, reforms at the national level. As you would understand from all of this, what is important for us is not just to work with law and restrict it to courtrooms, that is winning a case or winning a PIL or creating some reform in law. Uh, we try to address the cause of that problem. That is, at the social level itself, we try to identify what are the hurdles to access to justice and how they can be tackled through the law. We have been working in various states across India in the last 30 years. Presently, we have limited our focus to 4 states, which is Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, Madhya Pradesh, and Gujarat. So in Gujarat, we work in Uttar Gujarat, Saurashtra, and South Gujarat, uh, and a variety of issues depending on what happens, what is the social issue in that state is something that we work with. In terms of the themes that we engage with, we work on sustainability development goals to make them a reality and to create accountability for making sustainable development goals a reality. We work on rights relating to land, and then we work with various different rights of different communities, such as who are vulnerable, such as women, minorities, Dalits, Adivasis, queer people, people with disabilities, laborers, children, fisher folks, and prisoners. The principles that we try to keep in mind when we do all of this is we try to use law for systematic change and to empower the communities themselves to be able to lead the charge in creating change. So it's very important to us that it is the community, the various vulnerable communities that we are working with, become empowered enough to be able to use the law and create change. The second principle that we work on is social justice lawyering. That is to create a concept of lawyering that is sensitive to social justice and is oriented towards creating social justice. So how this can be done is a sophisticated understanding that we have developed over years of practice at the grassroots level. Uh, the first thing that we try to do is we try to build around people, which I said just now when I was talking about empowering communities. We try to build, let's say, a law center or a paralegal center around people from that community. So once There are people in a community who are empowered enough to be able to use the law. We build around them and rely on their local wisdom to be able to create change. And this is why we also invest in leaders from that community, in enthusiastic people from that community who have the capacity to influence and the wisdom to be able to do what's best to create change. The reason we work at a local level is because we started operating in a context where um, change making was often restricted to the levels of Supreme Court and High Court. So it would happen frequently that a law would be entirely unenforced at the local level because naturally there's nobody there to follow up. Nobody either has the capacity or the knowledge to be able to follow up. So that would lead to all sorts of injustices at the local level, which is why we operate at the local level to better understand how hurdles to justice exist there and how they can be resolved, how access to justice can be strengthened at the local level. And then we derive insights from whatever we learn there to influence how change can be made at a national level. So, in other words, we refer to this as a village to policy link, where the work that we do at the village level goes up all the way to influencing how better policies can be made at the national level. Naturally, as part of this, a core principle that we have to keep in mind is that collaboration and confrontation have to be coexisting strategies. They have to go hand in hand. They need not be seen as necessarily antithetical to each other. And that the work that we do must be sustainable. So any intervention or any strategy that we create has to be something that can be sustained for a long duration in a robust circumstance. Naturally, because we operate in so many different places, among so many different communities, and each of these communities requires flexibility in how we operate, uh, the way we work changes in each place, and the way we operate has to be slightly modified to how things can be best conducive in that particular geographical region, or with that particular community, or with respect to the particular cadre of people we are working with, so whether we are working with lawyers from a rural background, whether we are working with lawyers from an urban background, whether we are working with paralegals, etc., etc. Uh, so, the core strategies that we try to keep in mind, I'll just summarize this. You have five core strategies that we try to keep in mind. The first is legal aid, that is addressing legal issues of individuals and communities by assisting in litigation, facilitating entitlement claims under various laws and government schemes. But we move far beyond just providing legal aid, which brings me to the second strategy, that is to create legal awareness. That's disseminating information about legal rights and entitlements through awareness programs, including but not limited to campaigns, radio programs, street plays, and so on and so forth. Uh, as another way to do this, we focus on alternative dispute resolution mechanisms, that is, using both formal and informal dispute resolution mechanisms to resolve legal disputes between two parties. This can include activating formal state mechanisms like permanent conciliation boards or mediation centers, etc. Uh, we try to influence reform by using experiences and learning and best practices from grassroots intervention to critique and challenge existing laws and policies to make them more sensitive to the needs of marginalized groups living at the grassroots. And finally, we do legal capacity building. That is, conducting various capacity building programs to develop the capacities of young lawyers, paralegals, volunteers, for all of them to be able to use the law, for ensuring that rights and entitlements are guaranteed to those who are entitled to the same. Uh, I'll explain a brief framework that we use when we are operating. It's called an entitlement availability framework, where what we try to do is, from the field itself, we try to identify issues that are coming up. We try to identify that, let's say, for example, some kind of in social injustice is happening. We try to understand what this issue is, and then we proceed to increase awareness about this issue and to start filing claims. That is to start using the law as a way to addressing it. We monitor and follow up on these claims or use RTRs, etc., to be able to do this. And then what we do is we convert individual problems into collective issues. We try to identify how these issues could be influencing larger communities, which naturally takes us to identifying and addressing policy concerns at a much larger level. So we call this the entitlement availability framework because this process is a continuous process. Uh, Throughout this process, we are identifying what are the legal entitlements that are there in the law and how these can be made available to the people. So as we go through each step of this, it brings us full circle where in identifying and addressing policy concerns, we are again led to identification and issue assessment of issues. What comes out of this entire assessment is an understanding of whether how a law and policy is working. So there are three ways in which it can work. One, a law exists but is not implemented. Second, a law or a policy does not exist only. And third, that it exists but is actually working against the vulnerability. So this enables us to be able to assess and analyze and then provide critique and a positive sort of direction to where the law can be taken to create better access to justice. So because all of this work, as I explained, is very varied and it can often get very complex and it's often flexible at different geographical regions, it is very important for us to have a management information system, which is what we are working with, Avni with. Presently, the work that we're doing is still underway. So hopefully when it is finished, we'll be able to provide feedback and suggestions to whatever Avni has made with us. But I can list certain challenges that we have faced in that Avni and we have faced in making this MIS. So the first thing is that these SPSs primarily use the statistical data analysis. And so transitioning to a case management system may require redefining how data is structured, especially for tracking individual cases across different stages and interventions. The second thing is to always keep in mind what the learning curve for users would be. Since the people that we work with are from relatively marginalized background, their comfort with something that is new, particularly something that is might be technologically more complex, may vary. SPSS users are also often accustomed to its analytical interface. So adapting to the Avni platform's interface and functionalities may require extensive training and capacity building for team members. And then the third is customizing Avni for MIS needs. So Avni may require customization to meet specific management information system needs, such as real-time reporting or data visualization or integrating with existing processes that are already underway in the VLCS in operation. So these are challenges that we have been facing, and together Avni and CSJ has been trying to find the best possible solution for this. But yes, that is in a nutshell a brief introduction to what CSJ is and what together we are building. I hope that gives a fair idea, and we'd be happy to engage more with you on specific things, specific parts of the